12 years ago, my life was turned upside down in ways I never imagined. A car accident left me hospitalized for months. Broken bones, surgeries, and grueling physical therapy became my new reality. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional devastation that followed. At the time, I thought I had a partner who would weather any storm with me. My wife of 8 years, the woman I loved and trusted, was supposed to be my rock. Instead, she abandoned me when I needed her most. When I first woke up in the hospital, she was there. Her face was pale, her voice shaky, but she was present, at least physically. As the days turned into weeks, I started to notice her visits becoming less frequent. She would drop by for a few minutes, bring me something I needed, and then quickly excuse herself. I tried to convince myself it was because she was overwhelmed, that seeing me in such a state was hard for her. I never imagined what was really going on. One day, about a month into my recovery, she came to see me. She was dressed for work, her hair and makeup perfect, but there was a nervous energy about her. She sat down and took my hand. For a fleeting moment, I thought she was going to reassure me, to tell me everything would be okay. Instead, she dropped a bombshell. With tears streaming down her face, she confessed that she had been seeing someone else, a coworker, and that she wanted to leave our marriage. Her words felt like a punch to the gut. She said my accident had been a wake-up call for her, that it made her realize life was short, and she needed to pursue her own happiness. She told me she couldn't handle the stress of my recovery, that it was too much for her. Then she left. Just like that, she walked out of the hospital room and out of my life. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I was left lying in that hospital bed, grappling with the physical pain of my injuries and the emotional wreckage of her betrayal. I felt worthless, abandoned, and utterly alone. The nurses would come in to check on me and I'd force myself to smile, but inside, I was crumbling. My family and a few close friends rallied around me, but it was hard to let them in. I felt like a burden, like maybe she was right to leave me. But somewhere in the middle of all that darkness, I found a spark of determination. I realized that no one was coming to save me. If I wanted to get better, if I wanted to reclaim my life, it was up to me. My physical therapy sessions were grueling. Every step, every stretch felt like a monumental effort, but I refused to give up. Each small victory, standing for a few seconds, taking a single step, became a milestone. Slowly but surely, I began to heal. During this time, I also started to rebuild myself emotionally. I threw myself into a dream I'd always had but never pursued, starting my own business. It was an uphill battle, especially while I was still recovering, but it gave me a sense of purpose. The business started small, just me and a laptop, but over the years, it grew into something I'm incredibly proud of. It wasn't just a career, it was proof that I could create something meaningful, even after everything I had been through. For years I stayed single. The idea of dating again felt impossible. How could I trust someone after what had happened? How could I risk opening myself up to that kind of pain again? But over time, I learned to enjoy my own company. I found happiness in the life I'd built, surrounded by friends, family, and the satisfaction of knowing I had overcome so much. Fast forward to last week. Out of nowhere, I received an email from my ex-wife. Seeing her name in my inbox was like being doused with cold water. It had been 12 years since I'd heard from her. The email was long, emotional, and filled with regret. She wrote about how she had made the worst mistake of her life by leaving me, how her relationship with a coworker had fallen apart years ago. She mentioned that she was dealing with health issues and feeling lonely and scared. She begged for my forgiveness and asked if we could meet to talk. I didn't know how to respond, so I didn't. I left the email unanswered, thinking that would be the end of it. But a few days later, she showed up at my office unannounced. Seeing her in person after all these years was surreal. She looked different, older, more tired, and visibly nervous. She started crying the moment she saw me, apologizing profusely for everything she had done. She said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore and wanted to make things right. She told me she still loved me and asked for another chance to rebuild what we had lost. I let her speak. I listened as she poured out her heart, but I felt strangely detached. The pain and anger I had once felt were gone, replaced by a sense of clarity. When she finally finished, I told her the truth. I told her that while I had forgiven her years ago for my own peace of mind, there was no going back. The person she had abandoned in that hospital bed no longer existed. I had rebuilt my life without her, and it didn't have space for her in it anymore. I wished her well and hoped she could find peace, but I made it clear that we were done. She left in tears and I felt relieved. For the first time in years, I felt like that chapter of my life was truly closed. Her betrayal had been one of the hardest things I had ever faced, but it had also forced me to grow in ways I never thought possible. It taught me resilience, self-reliance, and the importance of surrounding myself with people who truly care. Sometimes, life's greatest challenges lead to our most profound transformations, and sometimes the best way to move forward is to leave the past exactly where it belongs, behind you.